Thank you, James. So, the floor is open for questions. James, thank you. A question about the change of identification, change of status. Between the 1980 and 1990 censuses in the U.S., if I remember correctly, there was a large increase in the number of self-identified Native Americans, American Indians. But a substantial proportion of that, if I remember correctly, was actually interview, re-interview, or test, retest variation that could have occurred from week to week by different people in the household, you know, by doing a post-enumeration survey, finding this out. Different people in the household asking the question from one week to the next. And so it was thought, we thought, that a fair amount of the variation between 1980 and 1990 was actually interview, re-interview error. And I'm wondering, if you understand what I'm saying, I'm wondering if you did re-interviews or if you have some sense of how stable, how robust the self-identifications of status were, so that you could really identify the two censuses as being different as opposed to just variation taking place and having to catch it at two different points.
Well, these numbers come from individuals that are linked between two censuses.
So direct,
so
and individual reported his or her own identification.
Yeah. So
not
you know for one
household or something.
That's right. So
Okay.
well, yeah, it could be that their parent identified them as indigenous in the previous census,
yeah.
and in the most recent census they identified differently.
Yeah.
So that definitely could happen. And this would mix both. What would be, which I thought you were going to ask is, this is only based on two censuses. They're going to do this for the census they just ran this year. So it'll be interesting to look at. We'll be able to look at 3 time points. And that'll hopefully shed some further light.
More questions?
Thanks very much for this. Have you considered the possibility of stratifying by education? I'm wondering how much of the difference in mobility and in identification change is associated with differences in education, and whether education might turn out to be a more important predictor of mobility than identification as Aboriginal or not. Was the question clear?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to figure out, are you asking because I wasn't trying to say identification status was an important predictor of migration. I was trying to find the relationship, if there was any link.
Sorry, my question is too complicated. Have you looked at education as an additional variable?
No, but it would be good, I agree, it would be good to look at that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. The interval that you cover with your transition probabilities is 5 years. Now, there's change of identification and there's change of residence. It's unlikely that the two occur in the same week or month or even year. Have you considered to compute the rates underlying these transition probabilities, imposing a model in which you only can change residence but not identification, or only change identification but not residence? I mean, you have to take the log of a matrix. It's a bit complicated and there's not a unique solution, not always, but there's quite some literature of handling that. It could give you more insight in the underlying processes, and now you have blurred identification change and region and change of residence.
I have not considered that, but I will. I'm not sure what's blurred, because we have points in time, status in time.
Yeah, but it's unlikely that, well, change of identification occurs at the census, is recorded at the census time. But it may have taken place 1 or 2 or 4 or 4.9 years before that census. Change of residence has also occurred at some, I mean, when you think in terms of events,
Yeah.
then
Yes.
you mix the two.
That's right. No, yeah. This is pure transitions. No, I'll take a note of that. Thank you.
enjoyed your presentation very much, and I can report that looking at status change is very difficult. We tried it in the UK in our ethnic group model, but really the census data wasn't reliable enough to really go ahead with it. Although in our case, we think the level of change of identification between censuses was quite low. But I want to ask a rather more general question about multi-state methods, which I'm just using your paper to hang this question on, really. The assumption the assumption you make, and most of us make, is that the transition rates that we've beavered very hard to measure, in your case over 5 years between censuses, then persist over the next, over the projection period. But we know that there will be changes, just as there are changes in fertility rates and mortality rates. So do you think the likely future changes in these transition rates are really important or not for revealing things about the population? And if they are, how do you think we can get at them?
Most important is, for me, my view is time series. And in this case, I have time series fertility, mortality, populations, but the transitions, I only have 2 points in time. I will have a second, or another set of transitions when the next, when the census results come out and when they do the linkage. And potentially you could have not only 2 sets, but you could take the average over the entire period. So over time, things should get better. Of course, yeah, I wasn't trying to pretend this is an accurate projection. I was trying just to show how those methods can be used to analyze the current changes and the effects of those changes, the importance of them. Bringing together, I think what's critical about multi-state demography is it pulls everything together into one model. And you can see the relative importance. You're not looking at fertility in isolation of mortality and migration. You're not looking at, so it actually pulls the 3 together and allows you to do a consistent, coherent demographic analysis. I think that's one of the big strengths.
One last short question.
Thank you. I have one question about identification changes because I'm not really familiar with that. But you have these cases that people are changing from indigenous to non-indigenous and the other way around. I mean, you cannot deduce this from the data, but do you know something from literature or from your experience why these changes might appear? I mean, it looks a little bit odd that somebody changes from non-indigenous to indigenous from one census to another. Do you know something about the motivation of these people? Why they're changing their status when it's self-reporting?
There's lots of reasons. One is indigenous populations, they maybe have mixed ancestry. And so the mother may be indigenous, the father may be non-indigenous. Or it could be that both parents are not indigenous, but their grandparents are indigenous. And it depends on how they view themselves. It probably also depends on what social context they're living in. So if you're living in remote Australia in an indigenous community, even though both your parents may be non-indigenous, but you have an indigenous grandparent or something, you may identify yourself as indigenous. And it's not just indigenous, ethnicity has the same issue. So we're seeing a lot of mixed ethnic groups, and it gets complicated once you move away from country of birth. You move into ethnicity, and that can change over time, and how you feel. Also, Australia's indigenous population, as I said, has been an extremely disadvantaged population. So, and some people didn't want to tell anybody they were indigenous. Now it's not. It can be seen as a source of pride. So there's these type of things. But and then there's the final thing is when they're children, their parents identify them. When they're adults, they identify themselves. So that's why you see that big shift.
So thank you, James.